I think that star quality is something that other people have. I think as an actor, so I can only speak for myself, all we're doing, or all I'm doing, is the work.
I'm on board with Joel about the fact that in terms of trying to define it for ourselves as performers, I don't think it applies. I think you do the work, that's your job.
The way I've always heard star quality described is factor and something that it just, you either have it or you don't.
I think it has a lot to do with memory for people, that you see someone and instantly you just remember things about them in a way that you don't remember things about ordinary people that you meet. You know, I would meet people during the day on the street perhaps, and I wouldn't remember what they were wearing and what their voice sounded like and what they looked like. But there are people in a medium, it's a visual medium like film and television and theater. There's people who you just instantly remember something about them, what they look like and the sound of their voice and their manner and so forth.
I love a definition that Graciela Danielle once said about what a star was, and she said it was someone who demanded that you keep your eye on them. And I've seen everyone in this panel work, and they all have this quality that's like daring you to stop looking at them when they're on the stage.
There's something about stardom is also a generational thing. People I work with in the movies today very often, who are my contemporaries, they don't have the same effect on me as people who I discovered when I was young. You know, and another component of that in the theater is that the theater is not as important in the lives of many people today as it was 40 and 50 years ago, because it's so expensive and so prohibitive, which is why I'm always a big proponent of any federal or state funding of the arts that will lower the ticket prices of theater going, so that a new generation of people can come and be introduced to that experience, you know.
First time I was on Broadway in a musical, it was with Steel Pier, and they took all of our pictures and they hung them outside the theater, and I remember thinking, I'm going to have my picture outside the Richard Rodgers Theater. And I walked up and I saw Karen Ziemba and Daniel McDonald and Deborah Monk and some of the chorus, and my picture, over my face there was an ad for a concert.
I remember George Wolfe said that when he took over at the Public, he had the decision to grow himself into the size of the job or diminish the job to what he was already capable of. And so for me, I feel like, oh, I have to grow myself to this because this is new for me. And just being always open and available to learn what comes along with this. You know, to him who is given much, much is required.
The balancing act is between being gracious with people, because people are very, you know, they reach out to you and they communicate to you, you know, the good and the bad, but not giving too much of yourself away. It's a kind of a really weird balancing act.
It was 1966, and Cabaret opened. And I followed that with George M., which all the pressure and focus was on me. And it is daunting, because it was resting squarely on my shoulders. And frankly, thinking about it, I don't know how I did it. When I think about just the physical demands of that role, of course I was 11. That probably helped.
And Wonderful Town has been a whole other stepping up to a whole other level. Then to have gotten ill during our preview period was a nightmare. I mean, and I had to work really hard to not have a nervous breakdown, in addition to just having the flu and bruising a vocal cord. That, you know, I think the biggest challenge was not to just completely lose it, because I was so upset about that situation and my feeling that I was failing my company, the audiences, my producers, after something that we'd all been anticipating for so long.
Well, I like to rollerblade and ski, and I like to ride my bike, and I'm also very accident prone. So those are some things I would like to do sometime when I'm not working.
They'll go, now what does it say about him? Why did he do that role? And I thought, well, someone wrote me a check, and they gave me a script, and I was available, and I met the director, and he seemed nice, and he seemed alert. And we went, and I met my co-stars, and I'm a huge fan. I thought Tanya was lovely, and she's intense and fascinating. We all got together, we all, got in a little boat together and rowed out there and did the movie. Then we rowed back, and then we're done.
For me, I just want to do the work and do it as well as possible. And, I don't know what Joel's experience is of having people know you for something and then expecting that all the time. I feel lucky that I've always gotten to play very, very different things, and I think it would be very hard for me to become so successful at something that every time I came out, people expected to see that something again.
When you talk about how you being a star of a show maybe affects your cast relations and everything, one of the ways you solve that problem is you do the ultimate diva trip, and then as you go and you do the one-woman show. So Kristin's going to tell us all about what it's like to head out into the hinterlands and do her concerts all over America. Kristin, what's that like for you, darling?
I'm going to kill you. It's very fulfilling.
But rehearsal was, it was difficult for me because I was, scared out of my mind and trying to figure out what I was doing. But it was more of a bonding experience with the cast, and now I never see anyone, and they haven't seen me out of green makeup and a black wig in 8 months. So that can be a journey.
When we were doing My Name is Alice, somehow there was like a rehearsal tape or a tape or something that I got access to. And on the flip side of it was a voice lesson of yours. And I realized that you were talking about me. And you were saying that, you know how Donnie, she's not really a great singer, but she does something. It's something that she does with the song, and she's not really a great singer. I thought, just turn it off now, Donnie. Just leave it right at that.